70% of projects fail. Now, we talk about lack of clarity, lack of communication, being given no to low resources, but what we don't often talk about is not being given the power or authority to actually get it done, but you've got all of the responsibility to make sure the results are delivered. This happens a lot in business because you've got the project owner, the project sponsor, the head of the company, whoever it is, really wanting the results of this project, but they don't want to be attached to the failure, which means whether they realize it or not, they won't actually properly invest in your success. And what happens is that you will end up overworking yourself by trying to do the things and fill the gaps of the player, the person who was supposed to be sponsoring this project, the person who asked you to do this, the head of sales if you're a sales ops manager. You end up filling the gap of what they were supposed to do in order to get things done. So you're now running around trying to make sure you're over communicating stuff. You're trying to over influence on people who you should have just been able to have a conversation with because they should have been expecting to speak to you, but they've never even been told to hear from you. So now you're having to start from miles behind the starting line, right? And that's really stressful. You have a job to do and you're now being expected to do that job because somebody else wouldn't do this job. Because again, they don't want to be aligned to the failure, but they haven't at all invested in the actual success of what it is that they've asked you to do in the first place. So there's 4 things that you can do if you are in this situation, because they might not even realize that they need to do this, because even if they've asked some of their peers, it's just how they do it. There's a reason why 7 out of 10 projects fail. It's because a lot of people are messing up on the same things a lot of the time, right? So a lot of the things are about communication and clarity. Go figure. They need to make sure that it's communicated to the people who you're going to be working with, that you are in charge of this project, this movement, whatever it is that you're doing, right? And they also need to, second point, reaffirm that you are in charge. Because what also happens is if they haven't done the first bit, if they haven't communicated that you are the person that's in charge, then when you start to make these changes, people are going to try to go over your head and go to them. So if they don't stick to their guns and reaffirm the fact that you are in charge, then it's also not going to work. They need to get clear on their expectations. And again, all of these things, if they're not looking out for themselves, then you need to find a way to explain this to them. But they need to get clear on the fact that when things need to be escalated, they are the person that things should be escalated to. So that last example where somebody's trying to go over your head, that's an escalation that you wouldn't necessarily know was coming. But there are other situations where you could spend your whole time trying to figure it out, or you can go to somebody else who has more power than you. In this case, you don't have any, but they've got more power than you because they'll be able to make the decision, so that if they make the decision of whatever it is quickly, you can then go on and carry on doing your job. And then lastly, but clearly it ties in with all of the other points, it's not just that they need to communicate that you are in charge of this project and this is what you will be doing and that people are going to be working together. They also need to communicate, and in some cases over-communicate, their expectations from other people who are working with you. Because in some cases, that's where people like to put in the little bit of wiggle room to say, oh, well, yeah, you're going to be in charge of this project, but this is how I'm going to work with you. They won't actually say that. But there are people who, because they've got issues with whatever it is that you're trying to do, or they just might not like you. They just might not like change. There's an awful lot of people that say they want change, but they don't want to be a part of it, right? If expectations are given by somebody who's already got the power, then it's going to make your whole life easier. You're still going to run into stumbling blocks every now and again, but that needs to be given. If somebody else has the power, and you don't have the power, they need to allot you some power in order for you to be able to even have a hope of getting your job done. So if you are in the position where you've been given a project, for example, in sales operations, because a lot of this is projects, if you are in that position, it's worth looking over those points and figuring out, sitting down with your head of sales or your CFO or your COO to basically get clear on the whole, well, yes, you want me to do these things, but if we actually want it to work, I need you to communicate to these people that you want me to work with that this is what my responsibility is, so that they understand. And I need to know, for my own psychological safety, for my own belief in the success of this project, I need to know that you're going to be there if I need to escalate something to you. So again, please try not to stress yourself out too much. I know it's really hard. I've been there. But try to have that conversation with whoever your head is that is asking you to do whatever type of project it is, because that will make things much, much better for you.